The morning started like any other in the offices of Starbridge Shipping Company. Director Vex sat in his large corner office, looking out at the three moons that hung in the purple sky of New Centauri. His gray scales shimmered under the soft light of his desk lamp as he reviewed the monthly reports. The numbers weren't good. Not good at all. Pirate attacks had increased by 300% in the last trading cycle. 6 ships lost, 4 crews missing, and cargo worth millions of credits stolen. The insurance companies were threatening to triple their rates, and 3 major clients had already canceled their contracts. The soft chime of his office door interrupted his worried thoughts. His assistant Mira entered, all 4 of her arms carrying different data tablets. Her pink skin had a slightly darker shade today, showing her nervousness. "Sir," she said, placing the tablets on his desk carefully, "I have a solution for our pirate problem." Vex leaned back in his chair, his tail curling around the base in a way that showed his interest. "Go on." "I want to hire humans for our security teams." The silence that followed was so complete that they could hear the soft humming of the building's air filters. Vex's inner eyelids blinked rapidly, a sign of extreme surprise among his species. "Humans?" he finally managed to say. "Those crazy primates from that death world Earth." Mira nodded, pulling up a hologram from one of her tablets. Images of humans in various situations floated in the air between them. "Look at their track record, sir. The Jenkins Mining Corporation hired just 2 humans last year. Their raids dropped to 0 in 3 months. Because they're dangerous." Vex stood up, his tall frame casting a shadow across his desk. "Have you seen what they do for fun? They jump off tall things with nothing but a piece of fabric to slow their fall. They race vehicles at deadly speeds. They climb frozen mountains for no practical reason." "Exactly." Mira's excitement made her skin shift to a bright orange. "That's what makes them perfect for our problem. Pirates attack us because they know our security protocols. We're predictable. Humans are anything but predictable." She pulled up another hologram, this one showing statistics. "They come from a world with higher gravity than most species. They can endure extreme temperatures, survive injuries that would kill others, and they have this thing they call adrenaline that makes them even stronger in dangerous situations." Vex sank back into his chair, his scales shifting to a lighter shade of gray as he considered the idea. "The board of directors will think I've lost my mind. The board of directors will be happy when our profits go back up," Mira countered. She pulled up one final document. "I've already found our first potential hire. His name is Jack. He used to work in something called Special Forces on Earth." "Special Forces?" Vex asked, his translator struggling with the term. "From what I understand, they're warriors who specialize in impossible situations," Mira explained. "He comes highly recommended by 3 other companies." Vex picked up one of the tablets, reading through the human's credentials. His eyes widened at certain parts. "It says here he once fought off pirates with nothing but maintenance tools." "Yes, sir. Apparently, he turned a cleaning drone into some kind of weapon. The pirates were so shocked they surrendered." Vex set down the tablet and looked at the 3 moons again. The company his grandfather had started was at risk of failing. Maybe it was time for a crazy solution. "Fine," he said finally. "Set up an interview." "But Mira," he looked at his assistant seriously, "if this goes wrong, we might both end up working as maintenance staff on some outer rim colony." Mira's skin shifted to a confident blue as she gathered her tablets. "Trust me, sir. The pirates won't know what hit them." As she left the office, Vex looked at Jack's picture again. The human was smiling in a way that seemed both friendly and somehow dangerous. What in the galaxy was he getting himself into? Maybe everyone was right. Maybe he had lost his mind. But sometimes, he thought, looking at the pirate attack statistics one more time, being a little crazy was exactly what you needed. The company's testing facility buzzed with nervous energy. Word had spread quickly about Director Vex's decision to hire humans, and now dozens of alien workers pressed against the observation windows overlooking the cargo bay. They had all heard stories about humans, but few had ever seen one in person. Jack stood in the center of the massive cargo bay, along with his team of 4 other humans. They looked surprisingly small compared to the huge loading machines and cargo containers around them. Their simple black uniforms seemed plain next to the glowing high-tech armor the company's regular security teams wore. Are they really going to fight without proper armor? One of the alien observers whispered. Their skin looks so soft. Director Vex stood at the main control panel with Mira beside him. His scales had taken on a nervous green tinge. The test course is designed to be impossible, he explained to the humans. It's meant to prove that we need to upgrade our security systems. No team has ever completed it. Jack smiled, a gesture that showed his teeth, and made several aliens step back instinctively. Impossible. That's our favorite kind of challenge. Mind if we take a look at the course first? You want to inspect it? Vex asked, surprised. But that would ruin the element of surprise. Oh no, said Tom, one of Jack's team members. We just want to understand what we're working with. He pulled out a simple paper notebook and pen, making the tech-savvy aliens murmur in confusion. The team spent 20 minutes walking through the cargo bay, making notes and occasionally tapping on containers. They seemed especially interested in the ceiling fixtures and the maintenance access panels. Jack kept pointing at things and making his team laugh, which only confused the observers more. They're not taking this seriously, one of the security chiefs complained. This course includes combat drones and sonic barriers. Finally, Jack returned to Director Vex. Okay, we're ready. Just one question. The only rule is to protect the cargo and defeat the attackers, right? Yes, Vex replied cautiously. Perfect. Jack turned to his team. Remember, folks, they said nothing about following normal procedures. Let's show them how humans handle things. The lights dimmed, and red warning signals flashed as the simulation began. Combat drones emerged from hidden panels, their weapons loaded with paint markers to simulate real attacks. Sonic barriers hummed to life, creating invisible walls throughout the cargo bay. What happened next would be talked about in the company break rooms for years to come. Instead of fighting the drones head-on, the humans scattered in what seemed like random directions. Tom ran straight to a maintenance panel and disappeared inside the wall. Another team member, Rita, climbed up a cargo container with surprising speed. What are they doing? Vex asked, watching in confusion as the humans seemed to ignore the approaching drones completely. His answer came when the overhead lights suddenly went dark. A moment later, the cargo bay's sprinkler system activated, but instead of water, it sprayed lubricant stored for the loading machines. The combat drones, designed to navigate through their visual sensors, began slipping and crashing into each other. Their energy shields were useless against the simple liquid. Jack's voice came through the comm system, somehow broadcasting on all frequencies at once. Fun fact about humans: we love using the environment as a weapon. The observers watched in amazement as the human team turned the entire cargo bay into a trap. They used the cargo containers as cover, redirected the sonic barriers to create bottlenecks, and even managed to reprogram 2 cleaning bots to chase the combat drones. This isn't in any combat manual I've ever seen, the security chief muttered, watching as Rita swung from a ceiling crane, dropping small magnetic devices that disrupted the drone's navigation systems. In less than 10 minutes, every drone was disabled, and not a single cargo container had been damaged. The humans gathered back in the center of the bay, covered in lubricant, but grinning widely. So, Jack said, looking up at the observation window, when do we start for real? Director Vex looked at the scene before him, the disabled drones, the creative chaos, the unorthodox but undeniable success, and felt his scales shift to a color of acceptance. Mira, he said quietly, prepare their contracts, and maybe warn the maintenance department that they'll need to update their security protocols too. In the cargo bay below, the human team had already started planning improvements to the course. Their excitement about making it actually challenging sent a shiver down every alien spine in the room. The age of humans in Starbridge Shipping Company had officially begun. The Star Whisper glided silently through space, its massive engines pushing the cargo ship steadily along the notorious Rigel 7 trade route. Inside the bridge, the atmosphere was unusually relaxed despite being in pirate territory. Jack sat in what his team called the action seat, a modified command chair they had rebuilt to better suit human bodies. He was drinking his sixth cup of coffee, much to the amazement of the alien crew who couldn't understand how humans could consume so much of the bitter liquid. "Sir," called out Rita from her sensor station, "I'm getting that weird feeling again." She was staring at a seemingly empty section of space ahead of them. The alien navigation officer, Krell, checked his advanced instruments. All sensors show clear space, no ships within detection range. "Yeah," Tom added from his engineering station, "but Rita's got good instincts. Remember that time on Europa?" Jack nodded, putting down his coffee cup. In the 3 weeks since they'd started working for Starbridge Shipping, the human team had already changed many of the ship's standard operating procedures. One new rule was simple: when a human got a weird feeling, everyone paid attention. "All right, folks, let's play it safe," Jack announced. "Combat positions. Tom, fire up that little surprise we installed last week." The alien crew watched in fascination as the humans moved with practiced efficiency. They had seemed so casual moments ago, but now they moved like predators, focused and alert. "Director Vex is not going to like that we modify the ship's systems without permission," Krell warned, even as he followed the new protocols the humans had established. "Director Vex can bill me for the upgrades after we survive," Jack replied with a grin. Suddenly, the ship's AI blared an alarm. Multiple spatial distortions detected. 3 ships decloaking. Pirate signatures confirmed. The main screen showed 3 sleek attack vessels appearing out of nowhere, their advanced cloaking technology having kept them hidden until the last moment. They were arranged in a classic ambush formation that had worked countless times before. "They're using Mark 7 stealth drives," Krell said, his scales paling. "Those are military grade. We don't stand a chance." "Actually," interrupted Tom, who was now typing rapidly at his console, "those are Mark 6. The power signature is slightly different, and they've got a really basic weakness that nobody ever thinks about." The pirates' first communication came through. "Starbridge vessel, power down and prepare for boarding. Resist, and we'll decompress your cargo holds." Jack's grin grew wider. "Tom, you thinking what I'm thinking?" "Already on it, boss. Rita, get ready with that mining laser we borrowed from maintenance." The pirate ships moved closer, their formation perfect, their trap seemingly unbeatable. They had done this dozens of times before. The cargo ship would surrender, like they always did. But this cargo ship had humans. "Now," Jack commanded. Several things happened at once. Tom activated what looked like a simple maintenance probe, except it had been modified to emit the exact frequency that Mark 6 stealth drives used for synchronization. All 3 pirate ships suddenly lost their formation as their engines stuttered. Rita fired the modified mining laser, not at the ships, but at a small asteroid they had been quietly towing behind them for the last hour. The focused beam superheated one side of the space rock, causing it to vent gas and spin rapidly, spraying a cloud of debris that the pirates' sensors couldn't ignore. "You know what I love about space combat?" Jack asked the stunned bridge crew as the pirates scrambled to deal with multiple system failures. "Nobody ever looks up, or down, or basically anywhere in 3-dimensional space. Right on cue, 2 more modified mining probes, which the humans had released during the earlier confusion, attached themselves to the pirate ship's hulls. They weren't powerful enough to breach the hulls, but they did interface with the ship's external maintenance boards, a standard design across most spacecraft. "Attention pirate vessels," Jack broadcast, still grinning. We've just uploaded a very interesting program into your life support systems. You have about 2 minutes to surrender before your ships start thinking the internal atmosphere is toxic and flood everything with fire-suppressant foam. The silence that followed was broken only by Tom's quiet chuckle. I love that trick. Gets them every time. One by one, the pirate ships powered down their weapons. On the Star Whisper's bridge, the alien crew stared at the humans with a mixture of awe and fear. You knew they were there all along? Krell asked in disbelief. Nah, Jack replied, picking up his coffee cup again. We just always planned for the worst. It's a human thing. He took a sip and added, now, who wants to help us install some more upgrades before we get back to base? News travels fast in space, especially bad news for pirates. 2 months after the Star Whisper incident, Director Vex's office had become an unexpected center of attention in the galactic shipping industry. The director sat at his desk, his scales now a confident shade of blue as he watched yet another hologram message from a competing company. This was the 12th one today. And we're willing to pay triple the standard consulting fee. The hologram finished. Just tell us your secret. How did you transform your security so quickly? Vex ended the message with a wave of his hand and looked at the data displayed on his wall screens. The numbers told an amazing story. Pirate attacks on starboard ships had dropped by 98%. The 3% that did try quickly spread the word. Stay away from the ships with humans. Mira entered the office, all 4 arms carrying fresh reports. Her skin glowed with pride. Sir, you'll want to see these, she said, laying them out on his desk. The humans have been creative again. What did they do this time? Vex asked, both excited and nervous. Every time Jack and his team got creative, it led to both amazing results and massive paperwork. Well, remember how we gave them that old cargo ship to practice their security methods? Mira brought up a hologram showing one of their older vessels. They turned it into something they call a Q-ship. A what? Apparently, it's an ancient Earth military concept. They make a powerful warship look like a helpless cargo vessel. They'd been parking it along popular pirate routes, and she checked her notes. I believe Jack called it fishing for idiots. Vex leaned back in his chair, his tail twitching with amusement. How many have they caught? 4 pirate crews this week alone. But that's not the interesting part. Mira's skin shifted to an excited yellow. 2 of those crews asked for jobs. Pirates wanting to work for us. Vex blinked all 4 eyelids in surprise. Yes, sir. According to Jack, some pirates are just people who needed money and made bad choices. He's been rehabilitating them. She brought up another hologram showing the company's newest security training facility. Former pirates were learning alongside regular crew members, all of them being taught by the humans. They're teaching them something called Parker right now, Mira explained. Apparently, it involves jumping around in gravity like crazy people. The medical bay has been quite busy. Vex watched the training footage with amazement. Aliens of various species were attempting to move like humans, learning to think creatively about using their environment. Some were failing spectacularly, but they kept trying. The humans have started a betting pool on who'll master it first, Mira added. Even the accountants are participating. A notification chimed on Vex's desk. Another company wanted to discuss security consulting. He ignored it and instead pulled up the latest crew satisfaction reports. They showed something unexpected. Morale was at an all-time high. Did you see what they did in the crew recreation area? Mira asked, noticing his interest in the reports. They introduced something called Movie Night. They show old Earth entertainment about space adventures. The crew loves it, even though everyone keeps pointing out how unrealistic the science is. And the cargo delivery rates. 100% success for the past month. Mira beamed. We're becoming known as the safest shipping company in the sector. 3 major clients who left us earlier this year have already asked to renew their contracts. Vex stood and walked to his window, Looking out at the spaceport below, he could see one of their ships landing. The Star Whisper, Jack's flagship. Its hull now bore subtle modifications that the humans had added, though Vex still wasn't sure what all of them did. "You know," he said thoughtfully, "when you first suggested hiring humans, everyone thought we were crazy. Now they think we're geniuses. Should I tell them it was all just desperation and luck?" Mira asked with a smile in her voice. "No," Vex replied, watching as a group of former pirates helped unload cargo using their newly learned parkour techniques. "Let them think we planned it. Just make sure the humans don't get too creative with the new defense budget." "Too late, sir," Mira said, pulling up yet another report. "They've already submitted plans for something they call Operation Surprise Party." Vex's scales shifted to a resigned purple. Whatever it was, he knew it would be both brilliant and completely insane, just like all human ideas. The engineering bay of the Star Whisper had become an unusual sight in recent months. Where once it had been a strictly organized space of gleaming machinery and precise tool arrangements, it now looked more like what the humans called a workshop. Rita stood at a makeshift table made from old cargo containers, surrounded by curious alien engineers. On the table lay dozens of parts from different ship systems, all connected in ways their original designers had never intended. "The problem with most space tech," she explained, picking up a standard shield generator, "is that everyone thinks it needs to be complicated. But sometimes simple is better." The alien engineers watched in fascination as she began taking apart the expensive device. Their chief engineer, a tall insectoid named Buzz, clicked his mandibles nervously. "That unit costs more than I make in a year," he protested weakly. "And it breaks down exactly when you need it most," Rita replied, not looking up from her work. "Trust me, by the time I'm done, it'll be twice as effective and 10 times more reliable." At another table, Tom was teaching younger engineers about what he called emergency repairs. The aliens had always followed strict protocols for fixing equipment. Tom's approach was different. "Sometimes," he said, holding up a damaged power coupling, "you don't have the right replacement part. That's when you need to get creative." He grabbed what looked like a food wrapper and some maintenance tape. "Watch this." The alien engineers gasped as he effectively fixed the coupling with what they considered trash. One of them raised a tentacle in question. But that's not in any repair manual." Tom grinned. "Best innovations never are. Humans learned a long time ago that survival is more important than following the manual." Meanwhile, in another corner of the bay, Jack was showing a group of security officers something that made them deeply uncomfortable: how to turn ordinary cleaning supplies into defensive weapons. "See, pirates expect you to use fancy guns and shields," he explained, mixing 2 common cleaning liquids. "They don't expect you to fill their ship's air vents with foam that hardens in 0 gravity." One of the officers, a reptilian named Slicks, watched in horror as Jack demonstrated how a simple pressure washer could become a short-range weapon. "Is this why humans weren't allowed to join the Galactic Alliance for so long?" he asked. "Probably," Jack laughed. "We tend to think outside the box, way outside the box. Sometimes we forget there was a box in the first place." The real excitement came when Rita finally finished her shield generator modifications. The entire engineering crew gathered around as she prepared to test it. "Okay," she announced, "standard shield generators use quantum field manipulation to create energy barriers, right? But they need huge power sources and complicated computers." She held up her modified version, now much smaller and with several odd additions. "This one uses mechanical principles instead. Watch." She activated the device. Instead of the usual shimming energy field, it created a swirling cloud of metallic particles that responded to magnetic controls. "It's basically a smart sandstorm," she explained proudly. "Uses way less power, can't be shut down by ion weapons," and she threw a wrench at it, which bounced off harmlessly. "Works just as well as the expensive version." The alien engineers stared in silence. Then Buzz stepped forward and asked the question they were all thinking. Can you teach us to think like humans? Rita looked around at the eager faces. Even the most senior engineers, who had initially resisted the humans' unorthodox methods, were now leaning in with interest. Well, she said, pulling out more parts from under the table, Lesson 1 is forgetting everything you think you know about proper engineering. Lesson 2 is learning to see everything, and I mean everything, as a potential tool. Jack watched from his corner as the aliens eagerly gathered around Rita's table. He activated his comm link to Director Vex's office. Sir, he said, I think we're going to need a bigger engineering bay. And maybe some extra insurance for when things get experimental. In his office, Vex looked at the latest efficiency reports showing how the humans' innovations had cut repair costs by 60% while improving performance across the board. Approved, he replied. Just try not to blow anything up this time. The sound of an explosion, followed by excited cheering from both humans and aliens, came through the comlink. No promises, sir, Jack said cheerfully. No promises at all. The Grand Galactic Commerce Hall buzzed with excitement. Representatives from over 300 shipping companies had gathered for the annual Security and Innovation Conference, but everyone was really there for one reason: to learn about the humans. Director Vex stood on the main stage, his scales a confident gold color as he prepared to give the keynote speech. In the front row, Jack and his team sat with Mira, all of them wearing formal Starbridge uniforms that had been modified for comfort in typical human fashion. Before we begin, Vex announced to the packed auditorium, I want to address the rumors. Yes, our company did hire humans. No, we haven't gone insane. And yes, everything you've heard about their methods is probably true. A ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd. On the massive screens behind Vex, video footage began playing. Carefully selected clips showing the humans in action. In the past 6 months, Vex continued, our company has achieved what experts said was impossible. Piracy along our routes has dropped to near zero. Our delivery success rate is 100%. Our repair costs have been cut in half, while ship performance has improved by 70%. The screens showed clips of former pirates training alongside regular crew members, engineers building new devices from spare parts, and cargo ships easily evading or defeating attempted attacks. But the most remarkable change, Vex said, his voice growing warmer, has been in how we think. The humans haven't just improved our security. They've taught us to see possibilities where we once saw only problems. In the audience, a tall executive from a rival company stood up. But what about the risks? We've heard stories about experimental weapons, unauthorized modifications, and complete disregard for standard protocols. Jack stood up from his seat, and Vex nodded for him to take the stage. The human walked up casually, somehow managing to look both professional and slightly dangerous in his modified uniform. You know what's really risky? Jack asked the crowd. Doing the same thing over and over while expecting different results. That's actually the human definition of insanity. He pulled out a simple metal ball from his pocket. This is a standard bearing from a cargo loader. Boring, right? Watch this. He pressed something and the ball split apart, transforming into a small drone that hovered above the stage. Everything around you can be a tool or a weapon, Jack explained as the drone performed a series of complex maneuvers. The pirates learned it the hard way. But more importantly, everything around you can be improved. The screens behind him switched to showing before and after pictures of various ship systems modified by humans. The audience leaned forward, clearly fascinated. See this engine cooling system? Jack pointed to one image. Rita rebuilt it using parts from the garbage recycler. It works 30% better now. That shield generator, Tom fixed it with spare parts and something he found in the kitchen. It hasn't failed once since then. Another executive stood up. But how can we trust such unpredictable methods? Mira rose from her seat, her skin glowing with pride. Would you like to see our accident statistics? They're lower than ever. Humans may seem unpredictable to us, but they have their own kind of logic. They call it common sense, though I'm still trying to understand what's common about it. Laughter rippled through the crowd. The mood in the room was shifting from skepticism to curiosity. The truth is, Vex took over again. We didn't just hire security officers. We hired innovators, teachers, and problem solvers. The humans have transformed our entire company culture. The screen showed scenes from the ships, aliens and humans working together, sharing meals, celebrating successful missions, and teaching each other new skills. 6 months ago, Vex concluded, someone asked me if I was out of my mind for hiring humans. Today, I can say with certainty that it was the sanest decision I've ever made. As applause filled the hall, Jack returned to his seat, exchanging grins with his team. On his datapad, messages were already pouring in from other companies wanting to hire human crews. Ready for some competition? Mira asked him quietly. Jack's grin widened. Are you kidding? The more humans out here, the more interesting things are going to get. Just wait until they hear about our latest project. The one that Director Vex specifically told you not to mention at the conference. Exactly that one. 1 year had passed since Starbridge Shipping Company hired their first human crew. The company's headquarters had changed dramatically during that time. The once quiet building now bustled with energy as humans and aliens worked side by side. Director Vex stood in his office, watching through his window as a cargo ship landed using what the humans called a drift pattern, a landing technique that looked dangerous, but actually used less fuel. His scales had permanently settled into a confident shade of blue these days. Sir, Mira entered, her skin glowing with excitement. The annual reports are ready. And, well, you might want to sit down for this. Vex turned from the window, noting the extra spring in all 4 of her arms' movements. That good. Better. She projected a hologram showing countless statistics and graphs. Profits are up 700%. We're now the largest shipping company in 3 sectors. 8 former pirate groups have joined our security forces. And she paused for effect. The Galactic Commerce Guild just voted us most innovative company for the 3rd quarter in a row. All because we were desperate enough to try something crazy, Vex mused, watching another ship land with the new technique. The door chimed, and Jack walked in. The human looked different now. His uniform bore the ranks of Chief of Security Operations, though he'd modified it in typical human fashion with extra pockets for what he called emergency supplies. Speaking of crazy, Jack said, having caught the last comment, wait until you see what we've got planned for the new training program. Vex's scales shifted slightly toward purple, his now standard reaction to human proposals. Should I alert the medical bay in advance? Probably, Jack grinned. We're calling it the Impossible Course 2.0. It's like the old testing facility, but with artificial gravity fluctuations, holographic pirates, and these cool foam pits Rita designed. Foam pits? Mira asked, her skin shifting to a curious yellow. Trust me, it's better not to ask for details, Vex said, but his tone was affectionate. How are the new human recruits settling in? After their success had become widely known, other humans had started applying to work at Starbridge. The company now employed over 50 humans across different departments, each bringing their unique brand of creative chaos. They're adapting well, Jack reported. Though we had to explain why using the cargo bay as a skateboard park during off hours isn't technically allowed, even if it does help with agility training. A notification popped up on Vex's desk. Another shipping company asking about their human integration program. They'd received so many such requests that they'd had to create a special consulting division. Oh, and Tom wanted me to tell you about his latest invention, Jack added, his grin growing wider. He calls it the Murphy's Law Generator. Do I want to know? Vex asked. It's a device that deliberately causes small problems during training so people learn to think on their feet. You know, because anything that can go wrong will go wrong, so we might as well practice for it. Mira's skin flickered between amazement and concern. Is that why the cafeteria's food dispensers were speaking in rhymes yesterday? That was actually an accident, Jack admitted. But everyone had so much fun with it that we're keeping that feature. The office's view screen suddenly lit up with an incoming emergency call. A cargo ship had encountered an unexpected asteroid field. Before Vex could even begin to worry, he saw that humans were on the crew. They watched as the ship's crew treated the dangerous situation like a game, plotting impossible trajectories between rocks, while singing something they called sea shanties. The ship emerged unscathed, having also collected valuable mineral samples along the way. You know, Vex said, turning to Mira, a year ago, that would have been a major crisis. Now it's just another Tuesday. Speaking of Tuesday, Jack chimed in, don't forget it's movie night. We're showing Apollo 13, a classic about humans solving impossible problems in space. As they left the office, they passed the company's new motto, written in both standard galactic and English, making the impossible possible, human style. Director, Mira asked, watching a group of alien engineers excitedly discuss their latest human-inspired invention. Do you ever regret hiring humans? Vex looked around at his transformed company, more successful, more innovative, and infinitely more interesting than ever before. The only crazy thing, he replied, would have been not hiring them at all. The end.